Hello, Hakib. Hello.
Hello.
Our professor chatted me through the WhatsApp.
Oh,
After 10 minutes, he will be start.
oh, professor?
Yeah, professor
Okay,
told
okay.
me. Okay.
Hello, good morning. I'm wondering if you guys can hear me. Chan, Hyokip. Hi, Chan. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Oh, yeah. That's good. That's good. Have you changed the time in Manila for the summer? Or you are still in the same time? You have not changed time?
Still same time, Professor.
Okay, okay, okay. Not sure if others are going to join at this time. So today we would like to discuss about the financial control and audit. And I would like to hear from you guys if you have any experience regarding setting control, or what is your experience with the um, controls in your offices or schools. And the second part will be about auditors, if you are familiar with the auditors or not. What they do, how it works, or anything. Can you hear me, Chan? Yeah. I don't know if you hear my question. I would like to hear from you and Hakip about your experience with internal controls in general, in the schools, in the classrooms, or any other business or previous work you had. So I would like to know that, because this week we had been learning about the financial controls, about the audit. So I would like to hear from you about your experience, because sometimes when we don't have the exposure to those things, sometimes it's difficult to understand what is in the book, you know. So the idea of having a short conversation is to trying to close that gap, so we can understand how even in our own households, where we live, in our homes, there are controls. Controls are everywhere, but we don't see, we are not conscious about the controls that are out there. So I would like to hear from both of you. What is your experience with controls? How do you understand the controls in your own offices or schools, or at home, if you can relate what you have learned to what happened at home? Because there is also controls at home, so though we don't call it controls.
For me, I don't have any experience related my work, but
Mm-hmm.
I experience as my white part. I mm, we are in campus now. Almost 3 years ago, we moved here, and my husband studies Master of Divinity. So that time, after 3 months, we realized that we paid our. We thought we can use this money for the 1 year, but we use it all for 3 months, first 3 months. So after that, we bought so shocked. And since that time, we try to control which parties we are losing our money. And, you know, we are living abroad. So through this experience, I learning how to control and manage my finance. Because without this, in Mongolia, we can live. Even
Mhm.
not control, we can use whatever we want to buy. But we thought in Mongolia, we don't buy any alcohol and cigarette, any toxic things. And we just, whatever we want. For me, I can buy some high heel shoes. It's expensive. Some clothes are expensive. In Mongolian culture, in the women's, we really want to wear good, good clothes. But when I came here, I adjusted. Here in Philippines, there is no need to make up, no need to wear good clothes, just normal. And now I adjusted with this lifestyle. So it also helped me to control my finance balance.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for sharing that because when we moved to the Philippines with my family to study, we faced the same challenge, exactly what you are describing, because you are used to some level of expending, and suddenly you're supposed to reduce your expenses because you are studying and life is different. But it's very difficult to adapt to less money, and it's very easy to adapt to more money. You know, um, i- if somebody double my salary, I immediately adapt to that. But if somebody half my salary, takes months and a lot of thinking and intention thought on how I'm going to deal with um, my finances. What is interesting of what you are describing is that in the company setup is similar, you know, because the sales, the products that you or the services you provide as a company, they also fluctuate, you know. You may have, for whatever reason, right now, this tariff thing that the US is fighting with China and with many others about the tariff, you know, is affecting many companies. And they need to set some controls so they can keep the staff, they can still be in the market. So it's not really different, you know. Let's say right now, I'm sure that you are trying to keep a budget, at home, So companies are trying to not be so liberal how they are expending the money, because some of them are affected by this tariff war, and then they need to restrict their own expenses, and many companies need to stop staff for coming to work. Sometimes they reduce the benefits, they freeze salaries, they freeze hiring, and all these kind of things. So all those are mechanisms of control, you know. That's our financial control. If you freeze hiring, means that you are not employing more people. If somebody leaves the organization, you don't replace it. You absorb between the others the job. All those are financial controls that you put in place so you can stay inside of the budget. And I think this week we learned so many techniques, different names, but all of them are aiming to the same thing: how you keep your finances under control. What is your experience about financial controls or controls in general? How do you see it?
From my experience, uh, as my dad owns a school, So I do experience a lot. Like,
Mm,
as in, we have in a year 4 semesters,
mhm,
and parents normally pay their tuition fees like 2 weeks before the exams.
mhm,
And so uh, my dad always plan like the finances, like during the admission, he always give out some money so that for the teachers tuition fees, teachers of salary, and yeah, so that there won't be any problem in
mhm,
paying the salary, because parents doesn't pay until the exam is coming up, and
mhm,
they always see what events are coming up where we have to spend the money, and always write the budget
mhm,
for like approximately,
mhm.
like how much will it be spent so that everything will go smoothly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You see, what you describe is, you see, you have a budget and then you plan how the money will go, during
yeah.
the year. And that is the cash flow, the budget and the cash flow, they go together. So you may have a budget, but if your cash flow is very bad, then you cannot expend money. So it doesn't matter if your budget say you can expend this, but if there is no money, you cannot expend. So same thing as you described happens in companies.
Mm,
The company says, okay, we are going to sell 200,000, whatever they sell, but they were able to to sell only half of it. So they cannot expect to expend all the budget because the incomes will be only half, you see. So they need to adjust according to what the money is coming in. And those are financial controls. So you look at some indicators, as we saw last week also, and those are telling us, can we expand or we cannot expand? And as you described, when? As your father did, okay, he planned, okay, at the beginning I need to pay, before the final exam I need to pay, maybe in the middle. So he organized the payment. That is what is called in English forecast, like the weather. Forecast means to prevent for the future, make a projection to the future. So he said, okay, in 1 month is the new semester, so I need to have money for that. And he said, okay, in 4 months will be a new semester, then I need to pay again before the exam. So he projected the expenses to the future. That is what is called the cash flow forecast, means how the money, I expect that the money will be expended and coming for the future. And those are very key financial controls in the institution. One question for both of you. Do you remember any particular control, financial control that you studied this week? Any of them? Because you read the chapters, you read the activities. So do you remember any one of the financial controls? Look on your notes. What can you find there? Any one that you did not understand very well? I will give you time so you can have a look.
For me, annual audits is because
Mm,
I didn't face it, but I noticed there is in school there is annual audits. So the reason why exam to the financial statement related records and underlying event evidence for the purpose of the expressing opinion or the fairness of the presentations.
mhm.
I so wondered, there is the accounting manual that's very clear to understand, because in my school some principals were very afraid to the audit is coming from the governance and they are
Mm,
making something and preparing. But I just noticed I didn't encounter that. But
mm,
through this lecture, I realized, okay, because of audit, the principle should be clear to report with the finance. It's very
mm-hmm.
important that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for bringing up the audit because, you know, there are different kind of audits. Audit is a revision. In the past, you need to understand that the name auditors come from audio, means listening. Because in the past, when there was no books, there was nothing, so the boss came and asked a verbal report to the manager. Okay, like in the Bible, when when the Lord came back, he called the servants. Remember in the Bible, he called the servant and said, "Hey, I gave you five. What did you do with these five?" And he said, "Hey, I brought another five." All that was verbal. There was no document. You see. So the idea of reviewing and having an audible report, that is where the word audit is coming, the revision, the listening. So that's the background. So an audit is a revision of what happened. Okay. And you mentioned that your principal and probably your finance and your administration in the school are afraid of one type of audit, that is the government audit. So what it is a government audit? All governments, they have laws. They have laws and instruction how the businesses supposed to operate. So those laws are written and are approved and are public, so everybody will know what the rules are, and they supposed to be and operate their businesses under those laws. So time to time, in many places, the government auditors come and check if your school, in this case that you are mentioning, if they follow or they didn't follow those rules. Okay, so this is one thing. Now, accounting, probably I know that your majors are not accounting. That's why I'm taking the time to explain a little bit. Accounting books are kept following international rules of accounting. So all the accountants need to know those rules and the companies. That's why somebody studied to be an accountant, and that person needs to understand the principles of accounting and apply while they are doing the work. So when auditors come, they check if you did follow those rules or you didn't. And at the end, they need to give you a report. If you check in your notes, they're always mentioned here, the auditor report will certify that you abide under those um, financial guidelines or principles of accounting. So it's normal that the finance people or the administration is concerned or afraid of the audits, because if you get a bad report, it means that you may pay penalties or the government will remove your license as a school and close it down, or give you some, time to correct those issues. So that's why there is concern when the auditors come. If you noticed, the section of auditing in your lecture notes are talking about the SDA accounting manual, as you mentioned, Shan. And that manual is a customized manual that explain to the accountants how they need to keep the accounting books under the church standards, okay? And those standards are similar or supposed to respect all the international accounting principle. But the manual that the church uses is giving more details, customized details for the different businesses of the church. So that is important. The other thing that is important for us is that there is internal auditors and they are external auditors. When you referred to the government, those are external auditors. Now, organizations, they have internal auditors who normally comes to the institution before the external auditor. So it's like a test, it's like a final exam. Those internal auditors come and review everything, and they will find some mistakes and they will advise you how to correct before the external auditors come. So that's the difference between internal and external auditors. I don't know if you have heard about GCAS. GCAS are the auditors of the General Conference. They are external to the Mongolian mission, for example, or to the school in Mongolia. But as organization, they are internal to us. But the government audit is external. So that is important to know. And also the auditors, to be able to audit fairly and follow procedures of auditors, there are always international principles of auditing. So all the auditors need to follow those international rules for auditing, like I mentioned for the accountants. So I don't know if you have any other question about auditors, Shan. It was clear, a big, small summary how it works. Okay. What about the internal control? What do you understand for internal controls? Hackett, you have working experience? Have you worked in a school or company or business or
I
anything?
work I work in a school.
You work in a school as what? As a teacher, as a principal, or as an accountant? What's your role?
Right now I don't work because I'm
Mhm.
studying.
Of
Before
course.
I come and study my PhD, I work as a teacher
Okay.
and work under my dad, yeah, and help.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So I'm sure that your school has somebody responsible for the academic part, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah. So that person, the responsibility is to ensure that there is a curriculum that every teacher applies, correct?
yes,
And I'm sure that your government also has some rules about the curriculum, what need to be taught in the first grade, in the second grade, what are the subjects that need to be there. All those are rules.
yeah,
And I'm sure that also the education ministry or the education department of your government goes to schools to check if schools are doing what they're supposed to do, correct?
yes, sir.
Yes. So all those are controls, exactly the same controls. So you have rules, you have people that come to review, and you have teachers that are responsible to ensure that those procedures are followed. Okay, so all those processes, all those controls that you may have, that before the beginning of the year all the teachers need to submit to the responsible for education what they are going to teach during the year, and that person will review, give you feedback, and you will correct it. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So those are procedures for control in the education part. Likewise, or in the same way, we have controls in the finances, in the administration, in all the areas of an organization. So you, with that experience you have, you easily can understand that finance has similar controls, but apply to finances. Okay, just to wrap up a little bit about the internal control for finance, at least, there are three things that auditors focus when they have their review regarding to the internal control. The person that approve, the person that record in the accounting books, and the person that makes the purchases or expend the money cannot be the same. And that is the basic concept of segregation of duty. Okay, so
Mm.
these three, the authorization need to be one person. Who record in the accounting books is a different person. Who buys or expend the money is a different person. Why do you think that these three functions need to be separated? The authorization, the recording, and the money. Why these three need to be separated? Do you think that in your schools, one person can authorize, record, and expend the money at the same time? Can the same person do that?
No, sir.
No, right?
Yes.
Why?
Because firstly, there will be a lot of work for that individual, and he
Mm-hmm.
will not be able to keep the information up to date,
Mm-hmm.
and the information will always be missing, and and the school will lag behind.
Yes, that is true. But the main reason for separating that is we don't want for one person have the control over the money and authorize and expend the money. That's why we call internal control. So
Mm.
if one person authorize, this person check all the information. If another person record the transactions in the books, is a double check, and another person uh, expend the money or has the control over the money in and out, the person cannot misuse the money, you see?
Mm.
So that's the main idea, that you separate the three. So there is no one person who can authorize and expend the money and record in the accounting books, because the risk that one person can misuse the money is too high, because the three controls is only one person. So that's why a good internal control has segregation of duties. And one of the responsibilities of the auditor is to test or check your internal control if these three basic characteristics of a good internal control is in place. Why that is important? Because if there is good internal control, there are more chances that your business is done properly, okay, in a good way, and you have a good accounting system in place as well. So auditors always check the internal control all the time. And they said your internal control is strong, is weak, or there is no internal control, basically. So everybody wants to have a good, strong internal control because it means that the money is handling properly. So that's why this part is very, very important. And the second one is that you follow the accounting principles. You keep your books according to your accounting principles. Okay, there are another very interesting word at the beginning of your lecture 6, talking about corporate governance. What do you understand for corporate governance? What is governance? What does it mean?
Okay, Prof. I think in a
Hey,
layman's term,
welcome.
yes, Prof. Thank you. Yes, thank
I
you,
was so
Chan.
I was so inspired that I didn't see you coming into the class.
Yes, thank you,
Thank you,
Sister Chan.
really.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. So, governance in a layman's term could be could mean to manage or to organize something.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Governance has to do with the authority, who is in charge, who set the rules, who call the shots in the company, you know, how, because governance is the same like government, they have the same root. And a government in any country, what it does, rules the country, set the rules of how it is going to work, set the laws, and decide what's need to be done. So the governance also in an organization has exactly the same mandate in the organization. If you say the corporate governance, so who is responsible for that corporation? Normally is the board of trustees or the board or the committee. It has different names, but it's a group of people that come together and decide how that company is going to work. So those are the ones that hires the CEO in the companies, and the CEOs report to this governance body of his or her performance in the company. So this is the people that said, CEO, come here, things are not going well. We want to know, what are you doing? How are you doing? Are you following our instructions uh, for this company? So that's why they are the government of that particular company. So they set the rules. So when you have a manual in your institution, let's say you have the employee handbook. I think all of you working in school, there is a handbook. Who do you think that approved that thing? Your board. Why? Because the board approved the rules under which you are going to operate. You see, if the school want to change policies, it's the board who approves the changes on policy. Because why? They are responsible for the governance of that particular institution. Make sense so far? Okay, good, 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 good. Okay, now I want to finish in the next 5 minutes. It had been, I think, very good, but I would like to entertain questions if you have. I'm sure that you check your lecture 6, and I would like to know if you have any question, any term that you don't understand, or something that you read but you don't know how to apply in a school setup, or something that you would like to get more information about. Anything in there? Anything about auditors, controls, or governance? Well, if there is no more questions, I appreciate Hokib and Chantal for your questions that trigger the discussion. And Bidi, I don't know how much you were able to get, but we had a very good discussion on controls, audit, and governance at the end. So guys, if you don't have any other question, we can call the day, and I wish you a happy Sabbath. Okay, guys. See
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye. Thank you for your participation. Bye-bye.